program will begin shortly. Launch sequence. Activate. Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I'm Sarah Higdon. This is Transform to Freedom. It's good to be back. I will say it's difficult sometimes coming back though, because I forget what we talked about in the last episode a little bit, because it was 2 weeks ago, and so there's some stuff I'm trying to remember if we talked about or not, but that's okay. Kind of just starting into it, you can see my shirt that says I stand with detransitioners, because tomorrow is actually Detransition Awareness Day. So I wanted to kind of just jumping before I get into any of the news or anything like that, I want to give a shout out. And I actually was just talking to Laura before the show about everything. So go support detransitioners all over the place. But my friend Laura has her shop called The Funky Psych. Go check it out. You can get shirts like this one, other shirts. You can hear her story, and then you can just get some other cool stuff that she has. But if you actually saw the pin that I wore on the Jubilee episode, it was also the Detrans Awareness pin, as you see right there. So go check out that store, support detransitioners. Like I said, tomorrow is Detrans Awareness Day, and it's one of those days that, I'm not really into the, days of visibility and all this stuff, but this is a day that everybody needs to be aware of, because detransitioners are often forgot about, not just by society, but by their medical professionals. And if they're not forgot about, they're criminally negligent about. And so some of the stuff helps to fuel some of the lawsuits and everything like that were, are happening and everything like that. And then so and it's good timing with the WPATH files coming out last week. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, but definitely go check that out. And next, I want to talk about a story that I did a video about, 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe even longer than that. I can't remember. But it was about this. It was one of my content videos talking about Haley Davidson was basically in line to now play on that was to get onto the LPGA, right? Play to get on. Well, big news. What was that? Friday? I don't remember. The NXXT Golf Tour, which was kind of the precursor tour to the LPGA, to get onto the LPGA, has banned males from competing in female sports. Now, I will show you real quick, if you don't remember, what this one was. I wrote this story a couple weeks ago. January 20th. So maybe it was a month ago that I did that video. But was going to had won the NXXT Tour golf tournament, which would have gotten Haley into the Epson Tour, which is the precursor. So would have been able to play on 10 exemptions, because they were top 5 would have gotten some of the exemptions to play in tournaments, which then, yeah, like I said, precursor, you win, everything like that. And if you don't remember, let's see. So now Haley is banned, and they said, the tour said, went back to what it was, and it says, as we navigate through the evolving landscapes of sports, it's crucial to uphold the competitive integrity that is the cornerstone of women's sports. Our revised policy is a reflection of our unwavering commitment to celebrate and protect the achievements and opportunities of female athletes. Protected categories are a fundamental aspect of sport at all levels and is essential for our tour to uphold these categories for biological females, ensuring a level playing field. McKinnon wrote that the tour is honored to lead in promoting and advancing women's golf, providing a platform that not only highlights the exceptional talent of women golfers worldwide, but also ensures the competition remains equitable for all of our players. So, good news for the integrity of women's golf. Now, if you go back and you watch my full video about that, because I did discuss all of this stuff, but I'm like, I do play golf. I like to play golf. And so when this story kind of broke, I'm like, I play golf with my dad and brother all the time. And even through the course of transitioning and everything like that, I never lost any performance. I still outdrive both my dad and brother. I average about 250 yards on a drive, which is probably the average drive on the LPGA, but I've never taken the time I've never been like a full golfer. I mean, shooting in the 90s is usually about where I'm at. So, but still, I never lost that competitive advantage, and I always play with men. So, it's never really seemed fair that somebody like Haley could go play on that LPGA. It doesn't make any sense. And so this is a big win again for the integrity of sports, and the fact that they did it on women's what is it, Women's Appreciation Day, that they did it on is kind of, yeah, it was the best day to do it, I guess. Of course, Haley didn't take this very, very well. Said, I have been banned from the next 3 NXT tournaments that I have already signed up for and been approved to play. They changed their policy mid-season after me signing up already and being second in the Player of the Year race. Could you imagine if Haley had won the Player of the Year race? And obviously, I saw a tweet earlier, Pink News, Queer Theory News, they were outraged about this because, basically, I think Haley told them that it was, transphobia, that male athletes should be able to compete with females, and everything like that. But if you go back and watch my video from a month ago, Haley actually admits that Haley knows why people International Women's Day. Yeah, that's what it was. But Haley knows why people are upset at this. Actually acknowledged it in an interview with Good Morning Britain. So I'll play 1 second. Let me see. I'll play this real quick.
Hailey Davidson never expected to find herself at the center of a political storm around transgender athletes competing against women in elite sport.
Let me see. There was an actual interview clip later on in this video, though.
Add surf and turf to the mix at Qdoba. The game-changing duo of tangy citrus slime shrimp and tender.
Around 250 yards.
It's
okay, I get money for that. That's the interview. Where's the interview? I don't think that that's the interview. Let me see. It's just hitting shots. 250 yards with a 3-wood. I don't know. Yeah, this is the interview.
Advantage. I don't believe.
Why do you think people have
You get a trans person on hormone.
clearly have an advantage?
Competing in female sports. Here we go.
For a lot of people, because you were born a man, you clearly have an advantage. Do you accept that?
Honestly, I 100% agree. The men do have advantages. Say you get a trans person on hormones for a year, no surgery, nothing. Good. Of course, for the most part, they're going to have an advantage. I don't believe.
Why do you think people have such a big problem with you competing in women's golf in particular?
I don't understand it. I don't get what the fear of me, one person, is doing.
So males have an. Go watch the video, because it's insane that you have an advantage. You literally just said it, and now you're crying transphobia because your advantage was called out, and you can't, continue to do this. Come on now. Doesn't make any sense, does it? No. All right. Spent enough time on that, though. So go watch my video, but just know, too, that, yes, Haley was banned from female golf. The LPGA, I don't think, has changed their stance on this. I haven't seen anything about that. I don't exactly know what the rules are about it, but this is what needs to happen across the board. Like, we need to stand up for female sports. I say this obviously as a trans person. We need to stand up and not allow males to compete in female sports. Not only is it unfair, but it's also it can be dangerous in some sports. I mean, we've seen trans basketball players, just completely 6 foot tall males competing in basketball and hurting women. We've seen, or young girls. We've seen male volleyball players hit a volleyball hard enough to give a young female a concussion. And that's not even just counting how unfair it is. For these team sports, you expect, like, hey, coaches and stuff like that, they want whatever advantage that they can get to win, that they can play off of. So they're gonna welcome any trans person on their team because they know it gives them a major advantage to win. But it's not ethical in the name of the sport. So, but then you go into even. I mean, we can go into swimming. There's another trans swimmer that's dominating right now in college sports and breaking records and everything like that. And it's like, when is enough enough? And then they want to come out and say that because another male took 9th place in Division III sports, that somehow makes it, was it Outkick Sports, I think is what it was. They said, oh, this person took 9th. Where are all the people? I thought trans people were unbeatable. And the fact is that nobody said that trans people are actually unbeatable. The point is that males are taking female spots in sports that were designated to females. Title IX should cover this because it's based off of sex and advantage. And the reason why Title IX was implemented in the first place was so that females could have, they could have the same opportunity to advance through scholarships with sports as males. So it's really, it truly is insane that this is even being discussed. Like, we know that about 71% of the population, and even the majority of Democrats, agree that males competing in female sports is crazy. So the rules need to change across the board. Doesn't matter that a male athlete is not very good at that, you know. But I digress. We can move on. Thank you, John Perry. I'll talk about this real quick. These team sports leagues are mixed set teams, but you continuously represent them as single sex, just like field hockey incident. The grift is getting stale. Oh yeah, interesting, John. Thanks for the $10 though. No, these team sports leagues are not mixed sex. You are completely mistaken. The where the girl was hit with the field hockey, the field hockey ball, that wasn't mixed sex. That was college sports. Yeah, see, my camera agrees with me. It was college sports. Interesting though, because even I literally just talked about basketball player. That's not a mixed sex league. It's high school basketball. High school basketball is not mixed sex. So I don't know where you're getting your facts for, but that's wrong. And on top of that, the volleyball teams are not mixed sex. High school volleyball is not mixed sex. The only sport that you could even be referring to would possibly be high school wrestling in multiple places around the country. So like Texas has sex discriminated wrestling, but like in Michigan, there is no girls team except for an off season. Like there's no high school girls team. There's an AAU girls league, but not that. So I don't know what you think you're talking about, but that's not true. You are the one that's lying and misrepresenting what's going on. Yeah, as well. Golf. This golf is not mixed sex sports. This golf is not mixed sex. Biking is not mixed sex. Swimming, not mixed sex. So if you are trying to brush off the fact that you think that this is some sort of like got you moment, it's not. All right, we're moving on. So moving on to the next kind of, we're going to go right into this story, and this leads into the WPATH story. So, but this is pretty big from Libs of TikTok put out last week. So Kaiser Permanente in California, was this in California? I don't remember where this one was. But basically Kaiser Permanente put it out to providers that they are going to start cutting the care, like stop allowing parents to have any say in their kids' permission and even see their health records after the age of 13. And this is in terms because of all these it's in terms of all the laws that are being passed over there. So I don't necessarily know if this is Kaiser's call, but they had to inform parents because of the way that because of the law that's set up they had to inform the parents. So the email says, to dear parent or guardian, your online parental access for blank will change when your child turns 13. You may continue to exchange secure emails with your teen's healthcare team through your parental access account. You will continue to have access to your child's immunization records as well. All other online access to your child's medical records and services will end on your child's 13th birthday. Why does parental access change? When a child turns 13, privacy laws make certain health health information credentials between teens and their healthcare providers. This privacy should encourage teens to discuss issues with their doctors and other providers, but it also means that some information can't be automatically shared with parents and legal guardians. The confidential health information covers dependency, mental health, along with sexual and reproductive health. And remember, gender dysphoria has been, or gender incongruence has been classified as a sexual health disorder among a child, or among people. So it's been classified as a sexual health disorder. So when they say sexual and reproductive health, that's what they're talking about. We are working on separate records so we can have more online access of parents and teens. We plan to give teens direct online access in the future. Reminder, and this is what Liv's TikTok pointed out, but I want to remind you that Kaiser Permanente is actually who Chloe Cole is suing in California, because they convinced her that she was a boy, and that's when she got put on testosterone at 13, had a double mastectomy at 15, and then detransitioned at 16. And so that's them. So now they're taking parents' rights and notification away from them. So when I say, I mean, this is a great day to talk about this with Detransition Awareness Day tomorrow, but this is going to cause irreversible harm. And the fact that anybody thinks that a 13-year-old child is the right age to stop allowing parents to make medical decisions for them, they literally think a 13-year-old can consent to life-altering medical procedures because they're taking away parental consent on that. Oh, John's here. Hi, John. Yeah, I was gone last week, so it's absolutely insane. It's insane just to think about, even if doctors are doing what they think is right, it's insane to think about. And again, this is based off of the law. Based off of the law. So and Kayla, you're absolutely right. When you get your bill for 20% or whatever percentage you pay for your child's medicine, the parents don't even know what they're going to be paying for. So you have to, children are allowed to be on because of Obamacare, children can be on their parents' medical health insurance until the age of 25. But from 13 to 18, you are paying for a service. And and remember, I don't know if we talked about this last week, and this is something I should have brought up at the beginning. This is one of the things I don't remember. The Illinois bill that I was on with Awake Illinois on a couple weeks ago that was killed, thankfully. Big win, we got that one killed. That bill would, because it is, if you withhold medical procedures from children, it's considered child abuse. Now, if you're withholding cancer treatment from a child who has cancer, there may be something there, right? You may have something there, but not gender dysphoria treatment. That's what the Illinois bill would have done. It would have added gender dysphoria and abortions for withholding. That would have been considered child abuse if you withheld that type of care. But think about this now. If you refuse to pay for your child's health care after the age of 13, because that's from 13 to 18, they're still your responsibility as parents. They can go to a provider, receive care without your knowledge, and then you have to pay for it. And if you don't pay for it, then they'll take your kids away anyways. Make that make sense. I don't understand it. I really don't. Oh, man. And on top of all of this, the big thing, the big story for the week, the WPATH files have been released. I'm still working through them. They're like 280 something pages. So I'm still sitting down and going through them to see what everything is. But Michael Schellenberger, his organization, Environmental Progress, put this out. And I'll share the tab with you. You can see. So Mia Hughes, if you don't know Mia, I've talked to her a little bit. Maybe it's time to reach back out to Mia to talk about, to just come on the show and talk about this. So me and Mia actually worked together at the Post Millennial last year. She left the Post Millennial to go work for Environmental Progress and has been working on this since she left us at the Post Millennial. So we've talked a little bit. She knows this stuff, and she's been really detailed in everything that she's done here. Like I said, this is 200 and something pages. This is like writing a book. And everything that they're pointing out here is stuff that we've suspected was happening for a very long time, right? So we expected that the doctors in these cases, the doctors that are providing this care, what they were, it kind of showed that what they're saying in public is not necessarily what they believe in private. It's not. So what they did, they got access and found and were to emails between WPATH members, as well as a lot of leaked conversations on their message boards about how like to take care of patients and everything like that. So first, I'll just kind of point out. I'll just read what Michael wrote about the WPATH files. So newly released internal files from the World Professional Association for Transgender Health prove that the practices of transgender medicine is neither scientific nor medical. American Medical Associations, the Endocrine Society, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and thousands of doctors worldwide rely on WPATH. It is considered the leading global authority on gender medicine, and yet WPATH's internal files, which include written discussion and video, reveal that its members know they are creating victims and not getting informed consent. So again, you think a 13-year-old can make their own medical decision. A 13-year-old can't make their own medical decision with a doctor who's telling them everything that's, every accurate information. But when you have doctors that are knowingly convincing their patients that they're trans and stuff, they are, because they're doing this to minors and they're doing this to adults, they're doing this to everybody. And so you think that they can consent? No, they can't. And they can't consent, especially when it's a doctor doing this stuff. When the doctor's convincing them, manipulating them, ignoring all these other comorbidities that happen. Remember, we talked about Tamara Pietsky, who blew the whistle in Seattle? Like, they know what's going on, and these files prove that they know what's going on. They know that this is what's going on. This is actually thank you for sharing. So Rachel, I don't know, I'm not going to pronounce your last name, but it says, I'm a detransitioner, and my gender therapist said to me at my first appointment, there's nothing you could say to me that would make me think you're not trans. I was 17 at the time. Doctors didn't care. If a doctor's telling you that you are trans, the doctor's starting at a point of being trans, that you automatically assuming that you're trans, even if you're telling them that you don't think that you are, that's an issue. Hey, Forest Mommy, thank you. Yes, everybody hit that like button. John, yes, you're literally hearing detransitioners saying this stuff, and you're sitting here saying that doctors don't say this? Come on now. That's why, again, I'm standing with detransitioners in this fight. Tomorrow's Detransition Awareness Day. Detransitioners who speak out and receive hate from people like John, they're doing a service, and it's because of people who have spoken out, who are revealing the harmful practices that are being done to minors. I transitioned as an adult, made the adult decision to do it. It wasn't doctors who told me to do it. And you know what? I've accepted whatever, risks that come along with this, but I was an adult, and an older adult than that. These people we have people as young as 4 years old going to gender clinics. A 4-year-old doesn't compute what that means. And ironically, on Twitter today, we're sitting here having this discussion about, people, it's horseshoe theory is full and well because people on the social con right are now saying that being a tomboy means that you're, soulfully trans, I think is what it was. Yeah, come on now. That's the same ideology that leftists have with this. So it's horseshoe theory works. So what Michael says, victims include a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old developmentally delayed adolescent, and individuals suffering from schizophrenia and serious mental illness. These injuries described in the WPATH file include sterilization, loss of sexual function, liver tumors, and death. WPATH members indicate repeatedly that they know that many children and their parents don't understand the effects of puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries, what those will have on their body, and yet they continue to perform and advocate for this medicine, even though that's not proper informed consent. The WPATH files prove that gender medicine is comprised of unregulated and pseudoscientific experiments on children, adolescents, and vulnerable adults. It will go down as one of the worst scandals in medical history. Now, I saw, Libby Emmons was on Timcast the other day, and they were talking about these, and she made a point too, when Mia had sent some people to the WPATH conference when they were coming up with their standards of care, and they were like not wanting to be filmed. It was an open conference, but they were upset because they were filming, because they didn't want you to hear what they were actually discussing when it comes to the files themselves. There is this video. So they understand this. Here's a good one.
I think the thing you have to remember about kids is that we're often explaining these sorts of things to people who haven't even had biology in high school yet, and I know I've heard others in this kind of a setting say, well, we think adults are like really slick biologically, but in fact, lots of people have very little medical understanding of stuff like that. We just, medical professionals and mental health professionals, take for granted. But I don't know still what to do for the 14-year-olds. The parents have it on their minds, but the 14-year-olds, it's like talking with diabetic complications with a 14-year-old. They don't care. They're not going to die. They're going to live forever, right? So I think when we're doing informed consent, I know that that's still a big lacuna. I think it
compares it to teaching somebody how to do, diabetes treatments. That children don't care, so they're not really consenting. Again, going back, 13-year-olds, according to Kaiser Permanente, can consent, even though WPATH says they don't care. to even learn what's going to happen. They think they're going to live forever. And this is kind of the point, right? When they think they want to take hormones and transition and do all this stuff, they don't realize what they're giving up. They don't understand that they will, taking cross-sex hormones will sterilize you. They don't know what puberty blockers actually do. The fact is, we know that Marcy Bowers, the president of WPATH, said on video, when we talked about this, 2 years ago when it happened, said on video that every single patient that she's ever had come across her surgery table that took puberty blocker, came across her so that took puberty blockers before they started puberty, took cross-sex hormones at 16 or ended up going on cross-sex hormones and then came to have surgery, were never at once ever able to orgasm as an adult. So basically what you're telling these kids is that they can consent to something that they don't even know, nor should they know what it means. It's evil. Like, just straight evil. And I've talked to so many people, and we know that they're actually so what is it? They're not, and we know the mental health professional side is not treating the other comorbidities. Everything that the mental health professional community has been treating, at least in this area, is gender dysphoria. If you present any signs of gender dysphoria, you don't even have to present that. Honestly, they can just jump right to it because of all these other stuff. But when you talk to people who have multiple different mental health disorders with gender dysphoria, they don't even treat the other mental health issues. They only treat what they think is the gender dysphoria. Why? Because it makes you a medical patient for life. It's what's making the big money. It's what causes surgeries. It's what's causing all this other stuff. Because of these files, another European country, Ireland, opted to not use. They said they're not going to simply adopt the WPATH guidance now, which they had previously said that they were. So because of these files, children in Ireland are not going to, automatically get treated for gender dysphoria. They're going to actually be treated if they are gender questioning. I want to read this one though too. So here's a 14-year-old who wants to have surgery. Yeah. It says, "Dear colleagues, I would like to know how to proceed on a 14-year-old trans female," so not female, but actually a male who wants to transition to be a female. "Started transitioning since she was 4. She wants to have gender affirming surgery, FTM or MTF, and her parents are supportive of her decision to create something with like literally nothing." It says, "But I have never done this on such a young patient. What are the recommendations in this case?" I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Marcy Bowers actually talked about this one, said she wouldn't do it, thinks it's pretty much unethical, basically said that she thinks waiting till 18 is too long, but anything below, I think it was something like anything below 16 is too young for some of the stuff, which is still just as bad. Like you think that, and they've talked about how after high school is actually, like, waiting till after high school is awful because for whatever reason that they think that waiting till after high school is what is it? Because then they don't have time to recover and heal while they're in college or they have a job or all this other stuff. Like, that's their reasoning. because of timing, because it's inconvenient to wait until you're an adult to make adult decisions, even though the vast majority of gender questioning minors actually desist by the age of 20. Come on. So here's another one about a 10-year-old patient. I have been reading, hearing some conflicting information about the effects of puberty blockers and total achievement. I recently received a question from a assigned female at birth I don't know what that is, 10-year-old patient about whether blockers will stunt his growth if he starts them now, as his doc has approved. I understand blockers can slow the rate of growth, but for those who start them at, say, age 10 before they hit their growth spurt and remain on them for a total of 3 to 4 years, what happens afterwards if they opt to begin HRT, testosterone, rather than resume puberty consistent with their natal sex? I'm curious as to how the medical docs approach important issues such as stature when starting puberty blockers, especially at an early age of the development. Are there ways to maximize growth potential for young patients? The response: it's complex questions. Blockers by suppressing puberty keep growth plates open longer, so younger teens have a potential to grow longer. However, their growth velocity is typically at prepubertal velocity without typical growth spurt. That is the reason we use GRNHA in children with early puberty to give them longer time to grow. Puberty blockers in a lower dose could promote growth as in early puberty stages when higher dosed. Basically, okay, so what did that just say? We always hear, again, what puberty blockers are fully reversible. That literally says that puberty blockers will impact growth, impact your height, your other development, all that stuff, right? That doctor just admitted what they won't admit publicly. It's another one. Oh, here you go. You bring up some very interesting issues. At what age should transition begin, and what are the problems associated with possible detrans as a person who is so young? I usually recommend that the person be living as the other sex for 6 to 12 months, since they may find that they are uncomfortable with the sex that they feel is appropriate. Also, they need at least one supportive parent involved. It is a very difficult ask that they wait until 16, because by then they will be dealing with menstrual periods and complete breast development. Waiting appears to increase rate of suicide, blah, 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 blah. We know that's false. So this is one of the other ones, and this is something that I found with people that start taking testosterone. So this is a 16-year-old patient that had 2 liver masses of potential cancer that were likely offending agents were the hormones, were the testosterone. So once again, they know that they are giving testosterone to a child who then develops liver cancer, basically, possibly liver masses, and yet they still are saying everything's good, everything's these children can consent to this, all this stuff. That's what they're saying. It's insane. They know what they're doing, and I agree with Michael. This may be the biggest medical scandal ever. It is what is happening is absolutely it's crazy. Here, let's see what this one is. Here's another. This is actually Gen Spec pulled this video out, and this will be the last video we talk about with this one. So yeah.
I have a young person I'm working with right now who's been on blockers for about 2 years. Mother's anxious for the kid to come off. The pediatric endocrinologist is saying maybe go a little longer. And the kid is vacillating, really not wanting facial hair, but about having menstrual cycles, and kind of vacillates about whether breast development, chest development bothers them or not, and which pronouns they use. And we all know that chest surgery is pretty inevitable, or at least it looks like that, because that has consistently been a bothersome thing. So is there more benefit of staying on blockers or letting the kid switch back to their endogenous estrogen? Or is it better to go low dose testosterone, or what, and at what point in time? So if the kid doesn't want facial hair, but maybe doesn't mind their chest growing if they're planning on having chest surgery anyways. So we may want to, be.
All they're talking about is looks, appearances. For a young female, listen to this. I mean, testosterone is such a powerful drug. If you haven't followed my friend Matt Ray's story, we did an interview. I think it's the last interview I've done. I haven't done a lot of interviews lately. But it's one of the last interviews I've done, and you can just hear his story about what testosterone did to his body. I hear from a lot of trans men, so female to male, about the issues that they have while being on testosterone because it's so powerful. But here's the thing is, and now we're talking about children taking it. So when you talk about the effects, testosterone is causing life-altering disabilities in people. Again, my friend Matt was starting to have tremors, like tics, from being on from what testosterone did to him. Here's the problem, and testosterone can create. I mean, for a female, if you get to 18, you'll be fully developed, and you can do what you're an adult. You can transition if you want. And testosterone is basically going to take care of everything. So the only reason for a young female to not transition, or the only reason for a young female is what? So they don't grow breasts? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, does it? No. So it's a sad situation, but I'm going to continue to go through the WPATH files. I just encourage everybody here to go in, read them for yourselves. Actually, so here's the website, environmentalprogress.org/big-news/WPATH files. They got a whole bunch of stuff. They have PowerPoints. They have, like I said, Mia did a fantastic job putting this all together, and I'm still going through it. It's a lot to take in, and I could literally talk about this for probably obviously 200 something pages. I could talk about this for a month, but yeah. But in the last 10 minutes we got here, let's talk about the State of the Union address. First thing I want to talk about, because this is one of the most disgusting things, especially as a veteran myself. So the Gold Star father, so what that means is the father of one of the Marines killed in the Afghanistan withdrawal was actually arrested, and I believe he's still being charged with a misdemeanor after he interrupted the president's speech when President Biden wouldn't even acknowledge those that were lost in Afghanistan. So let me see if I should have the video in here. Here we go.
All Americans deserve the freedom to be safe. And America is safer today than when I took office. Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through my American Rescue Plan, which every American voted against, I might add.
And here you see him getting arrested in the hallway. He said, Abbey Gate, 13 Marines. Because those 13 Marines were absolutely killed because of the piss poor planning that the Biden administration oversaw with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I say that with somebody that's been to Afghanistan. I've closed fobs in Afghanistan. This is what happens. And I support that father with everything. When you've lost the support of Gold Star families, it's an issue. And the fact that he was arrested. So I don't get what he's even being charged for, because you can remove him from the event, but he still has a First Amendment right inside that building. You can remove him because for disrupting, but he's a private citizen. He has a First Amendment right to air his grievances however he wants. And honestly, he lost his son because of the president's handling of Afghanistan. The fact that, yeah, it's that rubbed a lot. That rubbed me wrong, very wrong. Yeah. And then let's talk about some more of this. I'm not going to go through all of this. You know what? I do want to say, I did not watch the State of the Union. I actually went and saw Dune Part 2 instead. I made the right decision because thankfully, with the way that Twitter works, and knowing that the team over at the Post Millennial was going to have all the key clips for me to watch, I didn't waste my evening watching somebody lie on national television and that is more akin to drinking, me having like a drinking game because he slurs his words or anything like that. No, thank you. So Libby Emmons, our editor-in-chief over there, she summarized it all for me. But yeah, so you can go check out the Post Millennial, and if you want clips, if you want to watch stuff like this, you can watch it over on the Post Millennial. Because they have all the clips. We get clips from just about everything. It's they're on top of it. Let me see, which one's this one? Oh, it's funny. Biden says, let me see.
My purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time.
I mean, I don't understand how they would be under assault overseas at the same time, nobody overseas votes in the U.S. elections. Unless he's talking about Ukraine, which that doesn't make any sense. Democracy becomes like this buzzword. Democracy becomes this buzzword that it doesn't mean anything, because this president is actually going out there and is talking about democracy being under assault while they are actively trying to end democracy and not allow you to vote for the candidate that you want. And that would be former President Trump. Trying to remove somebody off the ballot doesn't seem to be the democratic way, right? Yes, John. Thank you again for $5. And you're right. It is a good idea. Maybe you shouldn't have spent your time watching me on YouTube. Watching me tell the truth on YouTube. And then lying all in my chat, just so you know. It's fun. But yeah, so removing President Biden off the ballot is it seems like that kind of throws in the face of democracy, right? Why not let the people decide? If you so believe in democracy, then you believe that the people have the right to vote for who they want to vote for, not a candidate that you approve of. Here's another. This is one thing that was absolutely heartbreaking, but good on Marjorie Taylor Greene for giving Biden this pin at the beginning and getting him to say her name. So here.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal.
So one, obviously her name's Laken Riley. Also got him to admit an innocent woman who was killed by an illegal. He later apologized for that, but it was interesting because that's like the left. What was awful about this too is it showed where the left's priorities are. They're more interested in political correctness. We know this with the trans debate. They're more worried about, you know, if you misgender a violent criminal, they're more worried about the pronouns you use than what actual crime was committed. They were more upset, and this was the most they ever talked about Laken Riley's murder by an illegal immigrant, was when the left was upset at Joe Biden for calling him an illegal immigrant. And then he later said, I shouldn't have said that. But it was a interesting moment when you did it, and you can see there's a look on Kamala Harris's face where she was laughing at it. She was laughing that he mispronounced the name, and it was kind of interesting to see. I wrote an article again this weekend for the Post Millennial that was talking about so the head football coach at USC, University of Southern California, his name is actually Lincoln Riley. And so trolling the president, a lot of them definitely were sending their condolences to the University of South Carolina or Southern California because they watched the State of the Union, you know, see if he was doing okay. It was expert level trolling. But it's sad to see that the president of the United States can't even pronounce this young woman's name properly, and wasn't even going to mention her name until prompt to do so. He went off script when Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about it. And then obviously talked about he supported Israel and all that. Yeah, let me see. It was funny. This one was actually interesting too. So he wants to harness the promise of AI to protect us from peril. Let me see this.
Pass bipartisan privacy legislation to protect our children online. Harness the promise of AI to protect us from peril. Ban AI voice impersonations and more.
So there was I mean, they were talking about this because he was very upset when Jack Posobiec, our senior editor over at Human Events, was talking about actually created an AI version, Biden saying something in AI that was wrong, and it was a joke. It was a clear joke. But it was talking about how awful AI can actually be. Now, I actually agree with having rules against stealing somebody's name and likeness and even their voice in terms of AI stuff. But I don't trust somebody like Biden to do it properly. I don't trust actually the federal government to do most of that properly. Anyways, I don't trust the federal government to do much of anything. So yeah. But we've run over a little bit here, but I want to talk about just throw one more thing out there, because when we talk about book bans, we always talk about, the left always wants to say that because we're trying to remove books from the libraries of elementary schools that don't belong there, that are basically porn books, sex manuals inside of these children's libraries, they call us book banners, right? But what's really interesting is RuPaul now has banned immediately upon its release, Abigail Schreier's new book, Bad Therapy, which I actually just purchased on audiobook. So I have one book that I'm finishing up ahead of it, and then I will be checking out Abigail Schreier's book, Bad Therapy. But I thought it's interesting, right? You think that book bans are so bad, so why are you banning the book? It's probably because we're not actually banning any books. You can go to your local library and get them for your kids, or you can purchase the books for your kids, but you just can't have them readily accessible to kids who don't want their kids reading these books in their libraries without their knowledge or consent. Like a parent should know what their kids are reading. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but you can go read the article over at the Post Millennial. I always have a link in the description. Also, again, go check out my friend Laura Becker's store, The Funky Psych. That link is also in the description below. As always, I thank you all for joining me today. It was fun. This is actually, I think, the most concurrent views I've had on this show. So nice way to come back to it. So again, I just thank you all. You guys will notice I'm doing some, I'm slowly but surely rebranding everything. So if you notice my intro and even my outro slides, like all of that has old branding on it, but I'm redoing all my branding. I think you'll see some of the podcast branding, everything's going into the format of my thumbnails. So we're just we're rebranding the show. It's the same great show, same great time, just upgraded new look. Okay. So again, thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, if you've made it this far and you haven't clicked that like and subscribe button, make sure you do that. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I will see you next time.